Hello there, welcome to WION Broadcasting live from London. This hour you're with me, Katie Pilby. Here are the headlines. UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak and European Commission Chief Ursula von der Leyen to meet today, the two leaders to finalise the Northern Ireland Protocol deal. US National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan has vowed real consequences for China if it moves ahead with providing lethal aid to Russia. An Iranian minister says some people are poisoning schoolgirls in the city of Qom with an aim of shutting down education for girls. Football fans in Istanbul call for resignation of the Turkish government as outrage against the Erdogan administration continues to grow in the aftermath of the deadly earthquake. In a landmark moment for LGBTQ+ couples in South Korea, a High Court has ruled that spousal coverage under the National Health Insurance Service should be applied equally to both LGBTQ and non-LGBTQ couples. Signalling a major strategy shift, smartphone and telecom equipment manufacturer Nokia has decided to change its logo for the first time in nearly 60 years. England need 210 runs to win the second test in the series against New Zealand on the final day. The Kiwis suffered a mini collapse following Kane Williamson's 26th 100. First to our top story, and the UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak and European Commission Chief Ursula von der Leyen, they're set to meet for final talks on the Northern Ireland Protocol deal today. Well, according to Downing Street, the two leaders are expected to meet during the afternoon in Berkshire. If a final deal is indeed done, Sunak and von der Leyen are also expected to hold a joint press conference. After addressing the updates with the cabinet, Sunak will soon leave for Parliament to deliver a statement on the agreement. Well, the final meeting follows months of intensive negotiations from both sides. The deal was signed between the UK and EU as part of Brexit, but the protocol has kept Northern Ireland in the European single market, and this has angered the province's pro-UK Democratic Unionist Party. However, Tory hardliners are warning that the Parliament should not be rushed into accepting a deal. However, the Irish Premier Leo Varadkar welcomed the news of the meeting and appreciated the level of engagement between the UK government, the European Commission and the Northern Ireland parties in recent months. Well, for more on this, we are going to be speaking to Mike Buckley, who is a senior journalist and a political analyst, joining us today from Sheffield, England.
Good morning.
Good morning, Mike. So lots to expect today, big anticipation. What can we expect from the deal itself, do you think? Is everyone going to be happy?
No, I think in the end, probably not many people are going to be happy. So if there is a deal, the UK governments and the EU and the Irish governments will definitely be happy because they want a deal. They don't want to continue the fighting and the arguments which have plagued European politics, as you will know, for 5 or 6 years now. But there are lots of people that won't be happy. As you were saying, the right wing of the Conservative Party, they won't be happy because they want Northern Ireland taken completely outside of the jurisdiction of the EU and the European Court of Justice. Unionists in Northern Ireland won't be happy because they want the same thing, and they don't want a border where it is, down the Irish Sea. They want a border on the island of Ireland. But we know that that's impossible because of the Good Friday Agreement and the need to retain ability for people in Northern Ireland and Ireland to access, each other's territories and live and work on both sides of the border. So we're entering into a period of political uncertainty and instability. We all hope that there will be a deal, and we hope that the DUP, as in the Unionists and the Conservative right wing, will accept the deal, or even if they don't fully accept it, at least learn to live with it. But it may be that we see some Brexit infighting, particularly in the Conservative Party, the way that we saw in 2018 or 2019. So this is a dangerous moment for Rishi Sunak.
Dangerous moment for Rishi Sunak. Big expectations today. Let's hope they come to a solution and perhaps a compromise on the cards. Thank you very much indeed. That's Mike Buckley there joining us today from Sheffield, England. And moving on, the United States is watching China's moves on the Russia-Ukraine war very closely now. US National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan has vowed real consequences for China if it moves ahead with providing lethal aid to Russia.
Seen them take the step of providing weapons to Russia for purposes of the war in Ukraine. We are watching closely. We know they haven't taken it off the table, and we are sending a clear message, as are our European allies, that this would be a real mistake because those weapons would be used to bombard cities and kill civilians, and China should want no part of that.
The United States and its NATO allies in recent days have been scrambling to dissuade China from such a move, making public comments on their belief that China is considering providing lethal equipment to Russia. Well, last February, before Russia invaded Ukraine, Russia and China signed a no-limits partnership. The economic links between Russia and China have also deepened, and the Western suspicion grows stronger, as so far China has not condemned the conflict. Well, in Bakhmut, the commander of Ukrainian ground forces, Colonel General Alexander Sysky, visited the town. He visited Bakhmut to boost morale and discuss strategy with the units. According to military experts, Ukraine will put maximum effort to defend Bakhmut in the coming days. Russia has made the capture of Bakhmut a priority in its strategy to take control of Ukraine's eastern Donbass region. Well, for more, I'm joined by our correspondent, Anis Malik, who joins us live from Kyiv today. Okay, so the US has vowed real consequences for China now if it indeed does move ahead with providing this lethal aid to Russia. How serious of a threat could this be for the escalation of the war, do you think, Manis?
Well, it is very serious, Katie. By all means, if they have China into play, and we've seen that being warned off, or the apprehension being casted by President Zelensky himself in the press conference that he addressed on the 24th, when the anniversary marked of the Russian invasion of Ukraine. And he has said that he hoped that no such move will be done. In fact, he has also said that he looks forward to meeting President Xi, quote, soon, unquote. So there is some skepticism here in Kyiv within Ukrainian authorities that China would not be giving weapons. There is that much of an optimism, but then that optimism comes with a pinch of salt, because they understand the realpolitik, and they understand the relations between China and Russia, and they just hope that China does not provide more and more weapons, because we've seen that input from the British intelligence just days back, which suggested that either Russia has gone out of the Shahid and Kamikaze drones, or either they have taken a significant hit. But last night, we saw that we heard from the Ukrainian authorities, in fact, that kamikaze and Shahid drones were spotted across Ukraine, especially in Chernihiv and Kyiv regions from 11 p.m. onwards until this morning. So in case if the Russian side has really gone out of weapons, as it's being speculated or alluded, and if in case China steps in, then it's going to be serious trouble for Kyiv. Katie?
Anas Malik, thank you very much indeed. Our correspondent there in Kyiv for today, keeping us up to date on the situation. Nigeria's Electoral Commission has started announcing state-by-state results from the national elections on Sunday. However, it's not expected that a winner will be announced in the race to succeed the President Muhammadu Buhari. Well, the first results from the Ekiti state showed a majority of votes for the president cast in favour of Bola Tinubu of the governing All Progressives Congress. Well, Tinubu pulled in more than 200,000 votes in the state. Atiku Abubakar of the People's Democratic Party managed to garner 89,000 votes, and Peter Obi of the Labour Party collected over 11,000 votes. Well, the Commission Chairman Mahmoud Yaku adjourned the session following the first results and said that the release of tallies would resume at 11 a.m. local time today. The presidential vote is expected to be the closest in Nigeria's history, with candidates from two parties that have alternated power since the army rule ended, and that was in 1999. Well, the votes in presidential and parliamentary elections are collated in each of Nigeria's 36 states before the count is transmitted to the Electoral Commission's Central Tallying Centre in the capital of Abuja. Now, meanwhile, voting had to be extended into Sunday in a few parts of the country after glitches were reported on Saturday. Soldiers were also forced to intervene on Sunday after 15 men pretending to be electoral officials stormed a voting centre in the Ali Bosho neighbourhood of Lagos. Well, the goons, they attacked party agents with knives and sticks.
This is what's going on right now at the collation center.
Those long boys, we don't know the outcome they enter this territory. They just came and start coming out with dagger and eating everybody that are Labour Party agents. They start eating them because some of them, even the one that was still bringing their results for us to collect, they were still eating everybody with stone, with dagger, with stick. And some got injured. So fortunately, when we saw the policeman, we were not able to do anything. I had to rush and enter in a house in one of the resort room, and I called for help to ask for soldiers to come.
Okay, so just to reiterate on the situation, voting did have to be extended into Sunday, and this was in a few parts of the country, and this was caused by glitches that were reported on Saturday. And we know that soldiers, they were forced to intervene on Sunday because of the escalation, and this is after 15 men were pretending to be electoral officials storming a voting centre there. And we do have a correspondent on the ground now, I'm pleased to know. For more information, we have Louisa Olaniyi, who's joining us live from Lagos in Nigeria. So tell us more about what happened, if you would, Louisa, and who's the favourite?
I need to take that again.
Hi, Louisa, can you hear me? It's Katie Pilbeam in London, just asking you what the latest is in regards to the election there in Nigeria. If you would just fill us in for me.
Okay. As we speak, 2 states have officially been announced by INEC, and the APC presidential candidate Bola Ahmed Tinubu seems to be taking the lead state and Ondo state. The big presidential candidate Atiku Abubakar is actually topping the state for sure, but it's not completed yet. Officially, the INEC Empire, the situation room in Abuja, the INEC Communication Center, will be convened at 11 a.m. Today. Tension seems high from all quarters.
Okay, thank you, Louisa. We are going to get back to Louisa in Lagos in Nigeria a bit later on during the day. Just a few glitches with the audio there. Moving on, at least 59 migrants, including 12 children, have died after a boat carrying migrants sank in rough seas off the southern Italian mainland. Well, the vessel, it broke apart while trying to land near the coastal town of Crotone in the Calabria region. The exact number of people who were on the boat is not quite clear just yet, but according to survivors, at least 150 people were aboard when the boat sank. More details in our next report.
Pieces of boat wreckage washed ashore on Italy's southern coast on Sunday. Small signs of the disaster that unfolded before dawn, when a boat carrying migrants crashed into rocks and sank in rough seas, leaving at least a dozen children dead, as well as scores of others, according to authorities. A baby, only a few months old, was among the first ones recovered, according to an Italian news agency. Italian police said the boat set sail from Turkey about 4 days ago. Survivors said the boat may have been carrying as many as 200 people from countries including Afghanistan and Iran. The vessel crashed near a seaside resort in the region of Calabria, and the Interior Minister said as many as 30 people could still be missing. Police said an EU border agency plane had spotted the migrant boat the day before, about 46 miles from the coast. But patrol boats sent to intercept it had to return to port because of the severe weather. The incident reopened a debate on migration in Europe and Italy, where the recently elected right-wing government's tough new laws for migrant rescue charities have drawn criticism from groups such as the United Nations. Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni expressed deep sorrow for the deaths and blamed human traffickers who profit while offering migrants, quote, the false prospect of a safe journey. Calabria's governor, Roberto Occhiotto, called it a tragedy that should have been avoided.
È una giornata di lutto per la Calabria.
It is a day of grief for Calabria, he said, adding,
La Calabria è una regione.
Calabria is a region that welcomes people. Last year we welcomed 18,000 migrants, but we can't be abandoned by Europe.
Dall'Europa.
Italy is one of the main landing points for migrants trying to enter Europe by sea. Many want to go on to richer northern European nations, but to do so they must brave the world's most dangerous migration route. The UN's Missing Migrants Project estimates more than 220 have died or disappeared in the central...
Create enough for all the ball we had around their box.
That's all from me here in London today. Thank you for watching. Stay with WION. Up next, it's your international news.
Arab